Good morning, Albert. How are you?
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing very well. We asked everybody to go to SI.com, go to the NFL section, because Albert has the section out there. One of the things that you wrote about was talking about the Washington Commanders. And it's an interesting story, and you made us think, Albert, because when you have a quarterback like Jaden Daniels on a rookie contract, it shortens your margin for error when you've been able to put all your resources into trying to find, veteran players around him. So what do you think the shelf life is for Washington as far as championship expectations?
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely taken some risk, and trading for older veteran players like Marshawn Lattimore and Laramie Tunsil and Deebo Samuel. And I think it's reflective of, where they were last year and where they think that's going to take them, which, I think it's impressive that they were able to fix so many premium positions and get better at so many premium positions. I mean, to improve at tackle, they also drafted Connerly out of Oregon, to get better at receiver, to get better at corner. Edge rusher is still kind of like a thing that's hanging out there for them. And then, of course, to get better at quarterback in as short a period of time as they have, it's impressive. There is risk that's involved with that, though, of course, and they are shortening their margin for error in that they're taking on those guys. They're giving up draft picks to get them. And so, as well as they've done in the draft and as well as they've done in free agency, you are now pouring money and draft picks into older veteran players. So if it doesn't work out, the safety net in certain ways isn't there to the extent that it would be if you're a little more conservative. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But, they certainly are looking to maximize the window they have while Jaden Daniels is on his rookie contract.
Hey, Albert, I want to stick with the quarterback talk and looking at the plethora of second-year quarterbacks that we have. You just talked about Jaden Daniels. You can throw Bo Nix in there, Drake May, and obviously Caleb Williams. Which second-year quarterback do you see taking the biggest jump this year?
Well, it'd be hard for that to be Jaden Daniels, right, based on how well he played last year. So, with respect to Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, both those guys played really well last year, so I think you'd probably be talking about the other guys. I think Caleb's probably best positioned to do it because of the combination of scheme, experienced play caller, investment in the offensive line, investment in the skill positions. I look at Penix and I think he has some of those things, but I don't think maybe he has the skill group that Caleb has. Drake may have some of those things. I don't think he has the offensive line that Caleb has. So I look at it and try to kind of big picture it for each of these guys. And I think so much of it when they're young boils down to how good is the situation around them. And by the way, I like all three play callers, like Ben Johnson for Caleb, Josh McDaniels for Drake, and then Zach Robinson for Michael Penix. But I'd say Drake is the one. And then JJ is sort of to me is kind of the one where it's he's got such a good situation around him. But what are we talking about as far as a jump? You know what I mean? Because we don't have the baseline that we have with the other guys to look at. Even Penix, who just kind of made a cameo last year. I think JJ is still sort of an unknown. So, I would take him out of the discussion for the opposite reason as I take Jaden and Bo out of the discussion because, you're going from a lot with Jaden and Bo to you're going from basically nothing with JJ, right? So I'd say out of the other three, I would give it to Caleb.
Shay, what's your outlook on J.J. McCarthy? What is he coming into the NFL? He's
Service Academy quarterback.
It's the best, isn't it? He calls him a Service Academy quarterback. As an Ohio State guy, you got to love that, right? You have to love that. Because look, and we talked about it earlier, J-Mac, the idea that we like a lot of Minnesota's parts.
Yes.
Who doesn't like O'Connell's head coach? But now the big question mark is what are you getting out of McCarthy, as Shay loves to call him. Just hands the ball off like he's at Air Force, and he didn't have to do that much in Michigan. But what does that look like under O'Connell? That's going to be interesting to watch.
Well, that said, I think he made big plays when Michigan needed him to make big plays, and I think, like, you can only do at the college level what you're asked to do. And I do think, like, JJ did really well with what he was asked to do at Michigan, which maybe wasn't as much as, what Caleb was asked to do at USC, or what Drake was asked to do at North Carolina, or what Jaden was asked to do at LSU. I just think the situation around him is so good, and they go and they bring in, they completely, revamp the interior of their offensive line, same way the Bears did, right? Like, in bringing in Will Fries and Ryan Kelly and Donovan Jackson. I don't know. I think back to the way we looked at Sam Darnold last year. Did anybody think Sam Darnold was going to win 14 games? But Sam wasn't a bus driver. Sam played really freaking well. So I don't know. The way I look at it, I think it's, I think JJ is in a great position to play well. We'll see how it goes, but. I think he's in a great position to do a lot with what they have there.
Albert, you look at Garrett Wilson, got the big contract extension, up there with the Jets. Where would you rank him in terms of tiers, where he would be placed in terms of receivers in the league?
It's a good question. I have to think about that. I mean, I don't think he's in the top tier, but probably one underneath it. I think I think the interesting thing is, like, a lot of people, and myself included, expected him to kind of take off when he had Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, and it didn't really happen. I think because of, some of the things were a little wonky, and then, Aaron had some guys he trusted, and Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard last year. And now, Garrett's got his college quarterback coming in, and I do think it's telling that Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji come in there as first year coach, first year GM, and they get to see these guys in the spring, and the first big contract they do is for Garrett Wilson, which tells me that they really like what they saw from him over the course of April and May and June. So I think he's got potential to ascend to the top tier. I think he's a really good player. But we haven't seen it quite yet, like at that level, right? Like, so I would say he's probably like a second-tier receiver now.
Albert Breer from SI.com and Monday Morning Quarterback with us on the Kap and J Hood Morning Show. Go to SI.com, check out the takeaways from Albert that's been out for the last day or so. What is the latest on Travis Hunter? I look forward to seeing him play. There's certain guys, Albert, there's certain teams that you're interested in, but Travis Hunter, the story, is going to be really compelling for me. What do you know about him so far?
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait. I think it's interesting because, like, the way the Jaguars are doing this is so much different than what I think most teams would have done with him, and what Colorado did with him. I think one thing I heard, one thing that's pretty consistent, and I think this is true based on my own knowledge of the sport, is that, like, it's really hard. You can have a package player on offense. It's really hard to have a guy just be a package player on defense, right? Just because of all the things you have to prepare for over the course of a week with an opponent and an opponent's ability to dictate things to you, and it's just hard, So what Colorado did was Colorado would have Travis Hunter spend most of his meeting time, his practice time on the defensive side of the ball, and then they would have packages for him on offense, and they'd be signaling in routes to him from the sideline when need be to just kind of make it work, because you can't be in two places at once, during the week leading into a game. And so, like, when I talk to NFL teams, most NFL teams said they would do the same thing. Like, that's how they would probably handle it if they got their hands on him and had him, as a rookie. And the Jaguars did the opposite. The Jaguars felt like his real value would be on offense. So they started him at receiver. And then I think about 3 or 4 weeks in, they started to sprinkle in some defensive work for him. So I'm going to be really intrigued to see where his reps come in the summer, because you don't get endless amounts of reps in the summer. And rookies, to get them ramped up, each one of those is really important. So, I think training camp stats can sometimes be, overblown and overrated. And we've all had that discussion, right? But I think, it's going to be really intriguing looking and seeing where Travis Hunter's time is divided once they get started, here next week.
Albert, as always, we appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.